Good afternoon. This is Amanda with Court Call. Mr. Norris, would you like to begin?
Yeah. Hi, I'd like to welcome everyone to CyberWeek and the demonstration of mediation using arbitration resolution services dispute resolution program. We are the only nationwide country resolving disputes both through arbitration and mediation where there are never physical appearances. All hearings are held either telephonically or by video conference, as is this demonstration of mediation. I'm going to now, I am the Senior Vice President and General Counsel, and would like to turn it over to Patty Porter, who is on our advisory board, and she will be the mediator for today's session. Patty?
All right, thank you, Mark, and hello, viewers. Welcome to CyberWeek 2016. So you're about to view an online mock mediation using technology that supports parties to discuss the issues important to them. It's an opportunity to bring together parties from various geographical locations. So we invite you, CyberWeek participants, to engage with us in our online discussion forum throughout the week. Pose your comments, observations from the video, and questions about mediating in an online platform. Mark, George, and I will engage with you throughout the week. So viewers, what are you going to see next? This is an EEO discrimination case against Acme. Let me introduce to you our cast of characters. I, Patty, am the mediator, and I'm participating from Texas. Amanda, who you don't visibly see, is the role of moderator from Court Call, and she is in Oregon. Stephanie Ziering is playing the role of complainant, and she's located currently in Georgia. Matt Leto is serving as Stephanie's counsel, who is in Florida. Mark Norridge, who you just met a moment ago, is playing the character of Senior Vice President of Human Resources, also in Florida. And finally, George Friedman, who is serving as Acme's attorney, calling in from New Jersey. So viewers, when beginning a mediation session, the mediator typically begins with their opening statements and remarks, followed by each side having their opening statements. Typically, employee in this side and complainants will go first, then followed by management's opportunity to do that. So let's begin. So welcome everyone to the online mediation platform where we get to have our facilitated dialogue. Thank you for joining us today from your respective locations. And since we know who's at our virtual table, let's review briefly the mediation guidelines which was sent prior to today's session. First, I will serve as the impartial third party to facilitate the conversation, both in this joint session and in private meetings. Each of you has brought an advocate, so I'll not be serving in this capacity, nor will I make any judgments on who is right or wrong. For that matter, it is going to be up to you who will make decisions on any type of settlement agreement at the end. Now, during this process, each side will have an opportunity to meet privately and or confidentially with me. So we will see each other in the main room while I'm in the caucus with you. The other side will visibly disappear. We will not be able to hear them at all, and they will not be able to hear us. And so we'll be able to talk freely. And I'll be able to do this with both sides. So this is a great tool that each side can use during the mediation process. Amanda will be helping us from the technology side of things. Now, as the mediator and as well as the moderator, we are bound by confidentiality. So there was a number of confidentiality rules in the guidelines. So hopefully that is now clear with everyone. And again, the moderator, Amanda, will only serve in the capacity of providing technical assistance in this platform. What questions do you have right now that I need to clarify before we begin with our opening statement?
Plaintiffs have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
None here either. Thank you.
All right, George. Great. Thank you. So let's begin. Typically, we begin with the complainant side. So I believe, Matt, you wanted to begin and kick us off. So why don't you go ahead and do that now?
Thank you, Ms. Porter. I appreciate it. And thank you to Mr. Friedman and Mr. Norridge for being here today. I have the pleasure of representing Ms. Ziering. And just to briefly tell you about the background of this case, Ms. Ziering has worked for Acme for about 11 years at this point. Throughout her entire 11-year career with Acme, she has had outstanding performance reviews, gets along with her coworkers perfectly, and has done a tremendous job for that company. Unfortunately, about 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer, and because of that, she was involved in certain treatments that required her to be out of Florida and actually in Georgia, where she currently is. Despite being involved with that treatment, she was still ready, willing, and able to perform her job. However, she was unable to do it actually at the home location of the office. Now, Ms. Ziering has requested to be able to work remotely, and actually a number of other people at the company do work remotely. You know, we're in 2016. As you see, we're here today, all working remotely, and it works perfectly fine. But unfortunately, Acme has taken the position that Ms. Ziering, for whatever reason, is unable to do so. Now, because of that, Ms. Ziering was also terminated. So it's our position as we're sitting here today that her termination was absolutely improper. The job that she performs does not require her to interact with people physically. Actually working, remotely via telephone, via video, she can do the exact same job that she performs in the office on a day-to-day basis. So because of her age and because of the fact that she's 59 years old currently, and because of the medical condition that she's currently undergoing treatment for, we believe that is the reason for her termination, which is absolutely improper under the law and unfair. Because of that, she probably has another 10 or 15 years of work-life expectancy based upon her age. And being unable to work, it's going to be difficult to also find a job now, given her condition, and also given the fact that she is 59 years old. So, Mr. Norwich and Mr. Friedman, I do appreciate the fact that you are here today, but, we do believe that your company has absolutely wronged Ms. Ziering. She has put on a lot of time and a lot of effort into your company and helped it grow to where it is today. So we're hopeful that you can do the right thing and either bring her back into the workforce if she's willing to do so, or otherwise compensate her for the time that she is unable to work. Thank you very much.
All right. So Matt, thank you very much. And just to make sure that there's nothing else that Stephanie wants to add, and certainly, Stephanie, throughout this process, you'll have more than enough opportunity to speak, but is there anything that you want to add at this point?
No, I've been a loyal employee for 11 years. I hardly took any vacation time. I worked overtime, and I really feel that I could have done my job remotely and effectively. But they didn't see it that way, and they terminated me. And I think it was not only because of my sickness, but because of my age. They could probably hire someone and pay them a lot less than they were paying me.
All right. Thank you for adding that. And again, we will have some joint discussions later, so you'll have more than a number of opportunities to have that directly with Mark and with George. So we're going to give the opportunity now to management to have their opening statements and remarks. So I'll kick it off to you, George.
Thank you, Patty. Can we go with informality? First name, okay?
That would be fine with me. Matt and Stephanie, is it all right if we go with by first name, so we're all on the same playing field?
Not a problem over here.
All right, thank you.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for agreeing that I could participate from home. The weather conditions here are just dreadful. Kids are home from school, and there's no way I was getting to the office. So if you hear noise, that's what it'll be about, but we'll try to keep it to a minimum. But I do think this underscores the value of online mediation, because literally there's no there. Now, I'm George Friedman. I'm attorney for Acme. I want to introduce a bit later Mark Norwich. He's our Senior Vice President for Human Resources. But let me just, in a brief amount of time, outline our view of the case here. Simply put, there was no discrimination. No intentional discrimination, no unintentional discrimination of any sort. The law requires a reasonable accommodation. And it's our view that Stephanie's request to work from home was unreasonable given the nature of her job. So we disagree with the other side on this one, and we think her job required her to be there. Unlike this video, she was required to be there. And so we tried. You'll hear that Mark made Herculean efforts to figure out some kind of a reasonable accommodation, whether it was partial work weeks from home, telecommuting, or shorter days. We tried, but employers need some reasonable level of predictability, and we couldn't really get that here. Now look, we're not heartless. We're sensitive, really sensitive to Stephanie's condition. We know it's not easy for her, and we're trying to reach some kind of an agreement. That's why we're here. We're not here to argue the law. We're here to reach a settlement and to really to build one among all of us, with you, Patty, and with the other side. Try to build a settlement that works for all of us. So we're not here in a win-lose situation. It's a win-win situation, and that's our intention, to work really hard today to try to build a settlement that we can all live with. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, George, for opening your side with the management side. And Mark, anything that you would like to add at this point?
Only that Stephanie's role is one in part of management and supervisory, and although she's able to do her job remotely to some extent, it is impossible to supervise staff and employees from a remote location for the substantial part of the time. And so that's the problem here, is that we have a group of employees that are basically unsupervised.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for adding your comments as well. You know, that's why we're here today, is to talk about a number of issues I've already heard here, and that we'll start to break apart and really understand what the real problem is and how we can move forward. And I appreciate your commitment, your focus and presence to be here so that we can do that. So, listeners, what we would do at this point is we would continue into a somewhat of a joint discussion first to really iron out and get a better understanding of what the issues are from both perspectives. What we're going to do now is fast forward so that you can see what a caucus or private meeting might look like. So, everyone, what we're going to do now, and I thank you for your time in having some of the joint discussion, what I'd like to do is go back into introducing the private meeting or caucus. This might be new for some of you. So what this is going to look like is I'm going to begin working with Matt and Stephanie first. We're actually going to remain in the room. Amanda, who is our moderator, is going to have you visually leave George and Mark. You'll be in another room that you can talk privately. We won't be able to hear you. Again, the conversation is confidential. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Remember your chat boxes. You can communicate with me when you're ready to see me, or I will communicate with you to see if you're ready to talk with me. So remember that that's a feature you can use. All right, so Amanda, we're ready to go into caucus with Stephanie and Matt.
Thank you. One moment, please. Thank you. You are now in a private caucus with Stephanie and Matt.
All right, thank you very much. Matt, I know that you've been in a number of mediations, so I know you know very clearly about the confidentiality in caucus. I won't take anything back to the other side, and again, the other side cannot hear anything that we are saying at this point. And so I just wanted to clarify that. Stephanie, did you have any questions about the use and the purpose of caucus and what we're getting ready to do now?
No questions.
Okay, great. So you brought up a number of things in the opening statement as regarding, and also as well as the joint discussion. Where do you want to go? How can we use this caucus right now to better help you before we go back into the joint session?
Well, right now I don't have a job anymore, and I was willing to work part-time, even remotely part-time, because I'm not, I have side effects from my treatment, but I could have worked part-time. And I just need some kind of compensation, because at this point, I don't know how easy it's going to be for me to get a job at 59 years old. So it's really up to my attorney to try to negotiate the best settlement that he thinks I can get.
Okay. And just to clarify, Stephanie, I'm assuming then you do not want to return to Acme at this point?
I would like to. But it's the kind of thing when somebody fires you, and if you go back, what kind of an environment is that? If they'd be forced, I don't want anyone to have to be forced to hire me back because of some kind of a mediation ruling, because it's uncomfortable. So it's just, I'm not really sure. It depends what their attitude would be and if we could work something out through this.
Okay, but it sounds like there's a possibility there. Matt, what did y'all have in mind in terms of what you were hoping and expecting to get out of this process today?
Well, let me add a couple things. Obviously, the situation that we're in, Ms. Deering is sick. She doesn't have a job right now. And obviously, I heard the comments made by Mr. Friedman. There's no such thing as a perfect case. I understand that they have reasonable arguments. I also understand the time that it takes to go through the entire legal process. So with that being said, what we're trying to seek here is All we want is a reasonable settlement. So what I think the best thing would be for Ms. Ziering to move on from the company. I don't think going back there is something that can work for either side. So it's almost coming up with a fair severance pay at this point. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, all right. And so viewers, what we would do is we would just continue to caucus. The media would continue to caucus, look at all the different angles. What are we trying to do? There's a recommendation of the attorney, but there's also the possibility, does she go back to a company she's been with for 11 years? There's a lot of hesitancy and fear there. So talking through those issues. So what I'm getting ready to do now is let's check in. Now, see, I can't visually see George and Mark, so I'm going to actually type into the chat feature, and Amanda, who is our technical person, will ask if they are available and ready for us to caucus with them. So we'll just wait just a second here while Amanda does that. And while we're waiting to see if the other... Yes, go ahead, Amanda.
I'm waiting on a response.
Okay, great. While we're waiting for the response there, Stephanie and Matt, I'll be meeting with them privately as well. You'll have an opportunity to still see each other and talk to each other, so take advantage, and I would suggest really clarifying, Stephanie, what would you want, what would have to happen, or what would you have to hear from the company if you did want to explore the possibility of returning in terms of your benefits, your insurance, all of those things that help cover the expenses that you're going through. So talk that out together, because that ultimately is going to be your decision while I talk in caucus with George and Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda, any further words?
Yes, they are ready.
All right, thank you. So you will not visually see me right now. I'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you.
One moment, please.
So viewers, you'll see that there's a little bit of a delay as we switch in the technology, and so now very shortly we'll have George, which we see, and you'll also see Stephanie and Matt in the room, but very eventually they're going to disappear. And Mark will pop in.
Okay, I'm back. Oh, I got lost for a while.
Just a minute, Mark. Make sure we have the right people. We have visually Mark. Okay, there we go. We've got George and...
You are speaking privately with Mr. Friedman and Mr. Norwich. Mr. Norwich, would you like assistance with your video?
No, we're good. I'm good. It's working.
I'm unable to see you at this time. Are you able to see the other party?
Yes. Do you want me to
And are you able
to hit reset video, or?
You are able to see yourself as well?
Yeah.
One moment,
we cannot
please.
see you. We cannot see you, Mark.
Okay.
So viewers, this is one of the challenges sometimes with online technology, is all the different elements that you have to be flexible and patient with. And so that's one of the things we'll talk about in the online discussion forum during Cyber Week. But while we're in caucus, just to reiterate to you, George and Mark, this is private and confidential. The other side cannot hear you. Is there anything that you need to discuss now that you want to talk through in this caucus that's going to be most helpful before we go back into joint session?
Well, yes, and Mark can hear us, so these things happen.
I can hear and see you. I actually can hear and see both of you.
Well, let's
as I said in the opening, management is not heartless, and we are willing to work something out. To be more specific, we're willing to put on the table either not 5 days a week or not, 9 to 5 every day. But so we're willing to put that on the table now to get things moving, and we're hoping the other side will do the same.
So it sounds like It sounds like you're open to having her return to work.
Yes, she was a good employee. Our take was she essentially abandoned the position because she said, I'm not coming in. So we had no choice. We had to replace her. But yes, we liked her. She was loyal. And if we can work something out, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
Mark, as the Senior VP of HR, is there anything that would prevent her from a workplace environment or an attitude or anything that would prevent her from coming back or have some barriers to coming back? other than the reasonable accommodation we're going to work on? Anything that might be a cause of concern from your perspective?
Not at all. There's no problem with her coming back, and there's no physical reason in terms of the facilities here or her needs. None at all.
Okay. So it sounds like, George, then there's definitely a willingness. There's a recognition she's been a really good employee, and the concern is how do we work around her being able to do the essential functions of her job and do it in a way that she could still get done what she does and be able to support her during whatever ongoing treatment she needs to continue.
You got it.
All right, very good. So viewers, you would see that we would also continue to caucus, work through some issues, the mediator asking reality types of questions, clarifying where all the possibilities, so that we can get parties closer together. We would then check in with the parties and then go back into joint session. So that's what we will do now. So Amanda, thank you for your support. Could you check in with the other parties to see if they're ready to meet with us back in joint discussions?
Yes, one moment, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Norwich, in the meantime, will you press the video icon on the left side of your screen, please? Thank
Okay,
you.
now there's a red arrow through it. Oop. Okay, did that do anything?
No, I'm still unable to see your video. Just one moment.
But we can hear you just fine, Mark, so we'll continue on with the mediation. Again, remember, this is confidential. I won't be bringing anything to the other side unless you explicitly ask me to do so if we go back into caucus again.
I'm waiting on a response from the parties.
Mm-hmm. So you could see, listeners, that as Amanda is working behind the scenes and checking in with the other parties, you can utilize certainly the opportunity to continue caucusing with the parties, but be careful because they could pop in at any time, visually or audially. So you want to be careful about what you're saying because you won't know that they're there until Amanda gives the clearance. So keep that in mind, viewers. Now this one might be a chance, viewers, to have some music playing in the background. That could be a joke or not, I don't know, but
I have not received a response from either party. Would you like me to check in with them verbally?
Yes, please.
Thank you. One moment, please.
I'm
So
pretty
one
sure.
of the things. Go ahead, George.
Yes, I'm pretty sure our physician has been thinking about coming off their position at this point, which is, she could work 5 days a week from home, as I heard in the opening, because we just don't see that as a possibility, not with her responsibilities.
And so in terms of, I'm sure that there have been a number of discussions about the essential functions of her job, and so in looking at the essential functions of her job, have you and Mark had a chance to kind of brainstorm some options around the flexibility of her schedule Monday through Friday?
Yeah, Mark can speak to that.
I think that I would feel comfortable we'd be able to work something out if she was able to be on site between 3 and 4 days a week and then either full days or 5 days partially, and some kind of combination, because the key being a manager is you need to be where your employees are. Viewing their work product through a computer is a very, very narrow focus for a manager.
Okay, I apologize for the interruption. This is Amanda with Court Call. The claimants are ready to come back.
All right, thank you. Let me just check in with George and Mark. Are we ready to bring them back into the table, or is there something more you wanted to say?
I think we're good to go for now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Amanda. Let's go ahead and merge everybody together.
One moment, please.
Hello? So I see that two attorneys. Maybe this should be a caucus for the two of you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Am I still not visible?
All right.
Mark's
I
a
do
big
not
cap
see you.
right now.
All right, so we do, just to confirm, we have you, Mark, audio with us via audio. Is that correct?
I am here. Absolutely.
All right, very good. Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Norwich, I did send instructions in the chat for you as well.
Okay. I am looking. Okay.
So, Mark, while you're looking at the instructions for the video, typically, viewers, what would happen now is we come back into the joint session. You'll see that even though Mark is with us, we don't visually see him in the room, and sometimes that will happen with parties whose webcams will turn off or their bandwidth. So don't be surprised, viewers, that this will happen to you, but you can continue on. Don't let it stop the process. So thank you, everyone, for being in the private caucuses. This is just the first opportunity. There will be more opportunities to go back and forth based on what it is you need. Now, listeners, typically what we would do now is come back into the joint session and begin continue the conversations and digging a little bit deeper into that at that point. So viewers, I want to say that there's a lot to talk about here on how online platforms can be a great, easy access. It saves a lot of time and money for consumers and businesses. You could see that we're using an employment case. This is not just limited to vendors or to money issues around product services. This can be very much around relationships, workplace relationships, family, divorce. It can be used in all types of mediation case settings. So we wanted to demonstrate an employment EEO case for you today. So parties, before we end our mediation session, and so listeners, we are fast forwarding here, we're going to begin to close the mediation session, and y'all done a really good job of really working very hard on coming up with a settlement agreement that it seems to be livable with you at this point. Any closing remarks that you would like to make at this point?
No, we're happy we worked it out. The hour is late, and we'll firm this up and move on. Thank you.
My only comment is, I think mediation is a great solution. I mean, it saves an awful lot of time. If this case had been tried, we'd be doing this for the next 2 years back and forth. So I think a resolution for everybody is beneficial.
All right, thank you. Stephanie and Mark, any closing comments for the two of you?
No, none for me. I just think it worked out perfectly well.
All right, Mark?
Yeah, and I think that this really has enabled us to get together in a way that allows us to talk calmly, openly, and get matters resolved. And I think this will have a good conclusion.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I know Matt and George will get together to finalize the details of the settlement agreement. They'll be getting back with each of you directly. Thank you for the dedication and the courage of going and shifting through the earlier conversations. And that was very difficult to do. We realized that, but this platform really allowed us to come together in a very easy way. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. Now, viewers, we thank you for joining us and watching the video today. We encourage you again to join us for Cyber Week. That's coming up October 31st to December 4th, November 4th. It's only 1 week, Cyber Week. We go through adrhub.com, adrhub.com. You need to register, and then you will engage with us in the online discussion forum all week that week. Watch the video, and we'll answer your questions, and maybe we'll have questions for you. So George, Mark, and maybe Matt and Stephanie will join us there as well. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.